guys hear me all right? Good. Okay. Yeah. Hey, just like I said, like they said, I'm Cody Kuehl. I'm a Northern Colorado-based artist. My gallery is Kuehl Fine Art down in Trinidad, Colorado. The gallery, it's inside the Mitchell Museum where I'm board president, and I've shown across the country, pop shops, every which way. So, if there's any questions about that at the end, I'm more than happy to give you my stuff. I'm going to start with an art. I think the biggest thing you can do with any products in any circumstance is to discover if you have a sellable product. You know, I think getting out there, showing to friends, starting to show it to people, you know, social media is great because you can just start to put your up, you know, and see, is it getting response, is it getting, you know, some traction, are people interested, are they commenting on it and stuff like that. It's just a good first strike, you know. And I'm just thinking, if I were to start from scratch today, how would I kind of launch this? I have a real, I have a ritual to create art. Like, I think it's going to be the work artist. You should be getting something every day. That's what I enjoy doing.
Could you
Yeah.
Either get closer to?
I was worried about that.
Right.
Yeah. Is it too quiet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. 1 second. How's that? Is that better?
That's better.
Okay. Yeah.
Perfect.
Just. All right. Let me start over. All right. So yeah, if I were to launch my career just from scratch today, you know, what I would do is get a group of work together that is similarly of a similar quality, right? A lot of artists when they're starting off, they'll have like one painting that's like their real, this is the best thing I've ever done, and then the rest of it is kind of like middle of the road, right? So you want to get to a place where you can create it kind of the same level all the time, okay? And you want to be in a place where you are, you have a group of work that you can kind of say, this is my style, this is where I'm going. Doesn't mean you have to stay in the same style, doesn't mean you don't have to do the same thing every time. But to have a consistent group of work that people can see, oh hey, this is what they're doing, okay? And then yeah, social media, get started with social media and show it to friends, show it to family, get some feedback. There is such a thing as artist critiques. If you go to shows, if you meet artists, it's very beneficial to talk to artists and say, hey, what do you think of this? You know, just to start to get a read on how artists would, you know, other artists would interpret your work and how they feel about your work. You know, didn't do well enough when I was getting started other people's shows. It's very important to immerse yourself in the culture around you, like what are other people doing in shows? Where are they showing? Do they have openings? All that stuff is great to introduce yourself as another artist that is trying to work in the scene. I think that's something I could have done a lot better getting rolling because, you know, I wanted to be in those clubs, but I wasn't going to the parties. So I think it's really important to get to know some of the other artists. Networking is huge. You know, any kind of business, networking you have to consider like to be an opportunity to share what you do, get to know people. Even if you're not in the show, it's, you know, meeting people, you're seeing the other work that's around. So that's a great start. I did the other thing where I started my gallery because I wasn't getting in the galleries that I wanted to be in. So I actually started a spot, it's been 15 years ago, this rented wall space to artists. And I know that's like, a lot of people say, oh, that's a vanity gallery if you have to pay to show. And let me tell you, we broke probably 5 different working artists from that place. people that just needed a chance to show their work and to experience it, to have an opening, and to get feedback. So I'm telling you, it's not necessarily the worst thing if you find a space with good rent to show. I still do it to this day. I have 2 spots that I just rent a stall, one in Estes Park and one is in, where's the other one? I'll remember. They have staff, they staff the place, they make me money too. So even to this day, I show up in nationally known galleries and I still have a spot that's like, it's just that, sends me a few $100 every month. So, is this tracking? I'm seeing, it's hard to read it.
Yes.
Okay. You guys are hearing me all right. Once you know you got a market product, then it's just start approaching people. What's going on?
Your mic went quiet for a little bit, but it's good now.
A what?
The mic went quiet, but you're all right now.
Okay, all right. I'll stick next to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, once you know you have a body of work that's consistent, that is of a caliber that you feel good about showing and you're getting good response to, then it really just comes down to network. Is there coffee shops in town? Is there galleries in town that you can approach? Being a gallery owner, just the hardest thing is the conversations when artists want to come in and ask me to show. And let me tell you, don't be this person. If you approach a gallery, usually what I do is I go in and just talk like a normal human being to the owner and just ask them about what their gallery is. When you look around, are they showing work that is like yours? Are they showing work that is similar to yours? Are your work fit for their demographic? Is it the same in your price point to you? If it's not, there's a good chance it's not a good fit for you either. So, getting started, there's different tiers of galleries that you start to get in, just coffee shop shows, stuff like that. But if you approach a gallery, don't be this guy. Hey, I'd like to show my work in your gallery. What do you think? And I'm like, cool, yeah, email me, here's my card. Email me the website. Oh, I don't have a website. Okay, well, email me your social media. Oh, I don't really do social media. Okay, email me some photos of your work. Oh, I don't really have a phone. I have like an old phone, a flip phone. And I'm like, okay, can you take photos of the work and send them to me or have somebody do that? Oh, no, I don't know. Can you just come to my studio? It's only like 40 minutes away. Just swear to God. I have, as a gallery owner, I'm like, my time is valuable and you're wasting my time. So if you are promoting your work, the other thing that is really important is you want to have show spaces. You need to have a consistent way to show your work to the people that you show with. Which is, if you have a website, that's like the easiest thing, the most professional way to do it. If you have just social media, that's fine for me. If the work's there. If the work's of the caliber that I want. But yeah, if networking with people, have a card, have your stuff ready to go. Because they're going to ask those questions. They're going to be like, all right, show me your work. You got on your phone? And a lot of times you're going to be too busy to look at it in the moment. So don't expect that. But you definitely don't personally just come to my studio. It's like up the road, 40 minutes. It's crazy. So once you start showing, it's important to have a good price on your work. I think a lot of people they fall in love with their work and they think, oh, I put so much time into this, and it's worth $20,000, and you have to have a realistic expectation for your work. When I started showing my work, everybody was like, your prices are too low. And I was like, heck, if it's too low, it's on sale. You should buy it. If it's so cheap, you should buy it. You know? Because I have a mindset that establishing sales is more important than making a lot of money right out of it. And I've seen so many artists fall into this trap that the work is really good, but their prices are like double what mine are at my career. And I'm like, hey, let's talk about your pricing. And they're like, well, I worked really hard on this one. And I'm like, just set a unit inch cost on it. Just set a unit inch cost. And I do $4 or $4.50 a square inch. And multiply the length times the height, and it's 4 or 4.5. And, you know, start off with 1 or 2. You know, getting some consistent sales is a great way to just kind of snowball. Unless you have started and you just quit your job to do this, I don't recommend just to quit your job and go straight into art, because if they did in 2008, is just with no sales. Quit my job right before the Great Recession and tried to do this art for, and it's almost so I hope to for artists, less established artists, get some sales in. Get some sales in the book, start getting some reception for your work. I had $200 pieces of that were pretty consistent, you know, pretty good. It's pretty good size. Now, diversity of sizes and prices still. You're growing to a place where I can do cheaper pieces and more expensive pieces. And then we'll talk about prints and all this next. So let me just show you a couple things. Let me show you what I'm cooking with right now, just to give you an idea of what I do. Because it's a little different, but the whole ethos is the same when you're talking prints. So, or you're talking originals. So this is an original. Just knock one of them over. This is one of this egg. This is layered plexiglass. And it's painted reverse on the back of the plexi. And then it has these dots with bolts. So that's one. That one's gone to the core show in Denver in December. Is Lefty. So this is a 16. This is a 20 by 22. So I'm talking pricing at this point, and this is pretty established. It's going to multiply 20 by 22 times $4.50. $1,980. You know, kind of, you know, just the roundabout price of that. You got to build up to that. And I went to a gallery recently, dropped off work in Prescott, Arizona. The gallerist is a very good gallery. Me and Russell galleries, they just really do art itself, art. And he said, what's the price on this? It was 4 by 30. I think it was $2,900. He was like, wait, $2,900 for you or for the whole price? I was like, this is the whole price. And he was like, that seems low. And it was like, you know, here's the deal. I want to make you money. I want you to make money, and I want to make money. And I encourage artists to find a way to create their work in a quicker way and still have the same results. So, you know, don't agonize so much on all the little details, you know, that artists that can't sell because it can take them 2 months to make a painting. You know, if you can make a painting in about a week, then you have a sellable piece of work. If it takes you 4 months to do it, here's the amount of money that you can sell it for then. So, but, you know, so I dropped this off and he was like, that seems low. And I was like, I really want to make it. And artists really encourage newer people especially to look at their representation, whether it's a coffee shop or a gallery you pay rent in, or a museum space, or a local show space. Look at those people as your partners. What is the benefit that you bring to the gallery? I had an artist recently that I've had this happen twice at the gallery, where I have an art show, and then they say, hey, what do you do with your prices? You're asking $8 a square inch for this painting. And they're like, oh, well, I think they're working on that one. This is not sellable at this price. There comes a point where there is roundabout price of artwork until you hit a different tier of Tom Splash here, who's super high demand in every show. He can ask whatever he wants, but until you get to that point, you can't ask for whatever you want. Yeah, there is a reasonable price for it, right? And I'll kind of break that down in a second here, because it just kind of how it worked out for me when I was evolving as an artist too. But it came down with these two artists that they essentially raised their prices to cover my gallery commitment. And what that does is it makes the piece not worth. I'm selling my price for more than they could get it for. So they're canceling down the price of my gallery for somebody else's art. And then it's not going to sell because it's too expensive. And they're wasting everybody's time. So don't be that artist that is like, oh, I've raised my prices for this commission. Your spaces that you show, you want to be marketable for them. You want to make them money. You want them to make money off of you, or they won't work with you. So just grain of salt time, just take that and remind yourself, I want to be marketable with my partners today. Okay? So if you want a way to kind of calculate work, there are pretty standard pricing for some things. This is an 11 by 17. This is bag and bordered. You sell prints. Talk about how to make prints if you want. If you prints of your work, this 11 by 17, put the industry standard pricing at $35. It's just kind of industry standard. Would anybody buy this if I was like, this is $100? No. Nobody would buy this. No. $30, $35 print, 11 by 17. If you want to make prints, you mine as backers and bullets. Tip forward backers, and then just 11 by 17 back. Do yourself a favor, and when you make prints, make them a standard size. Because then you won't have to cut the tip, you won't have to print it out and cut it in different sizes, you won't have to cut the back, you won't have to pull over the bag. Okay? This is an 11 or a 20 by 30 inch poster. I'm trying to stay close to the camera, so there's some gymnastics happening. Here, I'll step back real quick. 20 by 30 inch poster. These range from 75. Okay? Sit down. Okay, so this has 20 by 30 foam core and a 20 by 30 inch bag. This is not mounted to the foam core. I just dropped the foam core, I set the print on the foam core and put it in the bag. So the print is this print, I'll tell you have to have a special paper, or you have to get this special type of print paper. For instance, archive. This is my mindset. This is a $30 print. We need to be given this. Okay? This is done at a local print. Get these done for unit cost. These prints I get 55 cents a piece. And I do 20 or 30 different prints, bag and back. This one is Sam's photography. These cost $10 for 3 by 30 posters. I'm of the mindset that if you can keep your costs down, you're going to make money. Other artists have a different one, that they have a very high quality print, a very high quality paper, that they can sell for a lot more, and that has not been the case for me. Okay? So, I am of the mindset that, yeah, this poster print is not something that's going to be handed down for generations. This will last for years, and somebody will throw it away when they move. You know, get something new, but they'll get it, they'll grow up and, you know, a better job and I invest. You know, consider if you, like some of those G-plate things that people do on paper, get up to be like $20, $30 very cost. And then you got to sell the damn thing for $70. If the galleries take $40, then you're making like $6. But just consider your margins if you do this. Okay? This is an example of a print. This is done by Duraflat.com. They're a long-based company in Colorado. But there's canvas printing all over. There's so many online. Take a second to look at the quality. This one has like a nice masonry panel. You definitely want something, you don't have, but you want something that has some quality to it. There's some that are simply paper. You know, paper wrapped on a stretcher bar, and it's not just the quality in person is not the same. So kind of shop around for the quality, and then you got to keep in mind cost there too. Because some of those canvases can get pretty pricey to use. So this is 35. This is 75. So the canvas of this has got to be at least a 3x pop for what this is, right? So we're talking 250. And I just have a set cost based on my costs are like 65 cents a square inch for canvas prints. So 20 by 30, 65. That's like a $400 canvas print. Okay? So if the canvas print is $400, you got to think that the original is going to start at least about 3 times the canvas. You do what your original would be 2 or 3 times what a canvas print would be, because you don't want to be sitting at the gallery and somebody's like, why is this print the same as this original? You put more work in it. So, you got to think that your original, you start on $1,200. That would be 100 divided by 20 divided by 30. That would be a $2 a square inch. Is that am I tracking here?
Wait, it's hard to hear you. You're breaking up. It's hard to hear you. You're breaking up.
Okay. You guys can tell me that. Is it the volume coming in and out because I'm not close enough?
Yeah, the volume's coming in and out a little bit, but when you were holding up a lot of the artwork, I think it was blocking the mic. And I'm actually going to mute us so that there's no feedback coming through on the speaker. So we're going to mute Joe on our end.
Okay. If something's going on, just tell me so I can stop. Hannah, can you tell me what we missed? Where did we break up?
Did you guys want to repeat anything specific? Do you want to just go over the prices really quick of all 3? You mentioned price points for each, just kind of like a summary of that.
Yeah, so I do 11 by 17s and 12 by 12s for like 35. That's a pretty good industry standard. I do 20 by 30s and 20 by 20s for between 75 and 100. And I do standard size, which is 20 by 24, 20 by 20, 20 by 30 of those. And I just keep those prices all the same. Okay? Canvas prints, I do at 65 cents a square inch, but your cost might be different than mine. So that would put that canvas print, a 20 by 30 inch canvas print, at about 400. And then your original, if you have an original that's 20 by 30, if you 3x the cost on your poster print to, or your canvas print to an original, that starts you off at like $1,200 for an original, for a 20 by 30. And that's $2 a square inch, which is a pretty decent start to where you can start selling your art. I think I started lower, but I was literally hungry for it. I needed a sandwich. So, yeah. Is this tracking? Okay. So, prints. Has anybody in the room done prints before of your work? Nice, nice, nice. I have been just shooting my own lately. I know there are people that do it professionally. I have these studio lights. Let me see if I can point it up at you. I got one of these. I got 2 of those lights, and literally just set it on either side of the canvas. I set the canvas flat, and then set a light in the dark room so I don't get a weird reflection, and then just take a nice full-on screenshot with your phone, you know. And if you can do 2, if you have any Photoshop skills, just do, you know, take 1/2 of the photo with as much of the pixels of your camera as you can get, take another half of the canvas with as many pixels as you can get, and if you have Photoshop, you can stitch those 2 together, even better. But you want, you know, good neutral lighting, you want just well lit. You want to take it as color corrected as you can to begin with. And then, like I said, I just bring it into Photoshop, or I bring it into whatever, you know, there's a lot of different ways you could do it. I just take mine into Photoshop and make sure they're color corrected, and make sure they're, you know, you get a print out of it, you know, where you're going to get it done. Start with 1, and then make sure the colors are the same between your print, because you don't want different colors between your print and your original. And then, like I said, I have it's a sign printer. They do printing of all kinds of different stuff. I don't think it's, for the lower levels, I don't think it's as important that you have like an art house printer do it, okay? So that's prints. That's kind of pricing on where I go with stuff. I've done everything from t-shirts to coasters to, name it, all different type of stuff. And I think the most successful, the highest margin stuff is going to be your paper prints and your canvas prints. If you have some marketable stuff, if you have like things that you can sell that you know images will sell, then those are going to be your highest volume. You know, t-shirts are at least $10 a unit. You have to buy 100 of them, so you're in for $1,000, and then you're only going to get 20 off each one if you're selling them yourself. So yeah. I don't know if we want to go into questions at all. How much time we got? It looks like I'm like 30 minutes in. I could talk more about different places to show. We could talk about festivals. Has anybody in the room done a tent festival with, like, the tent festivals? Nice. The next step for me after starting my own gallery was, that one lasted 3 years, and then I quit that. Any kind of artisan, I think, could be good for the different tent markets and stuff like that. There's almost an unending amount of them, though. And I am of the mindset, you know, you got to research a little bit before you join in each one. That's really what I didn't do when I started, is I didn't do any research. If you're doing tent festivals to get some exposure, a great start is a website called artfairsourcebook.com. artfairsourcebook.com. And what you can do is you buy reviews. I think it's about $400 for the top 300 shows in the country. Okay, and what that does is it gives you, or you can buy regionally the art reviews for your region, and it'll give you an idea of, hey, this show is terrible load-in, terrible management, terrible promotion, 0 foot traffic. And if you think $400 sounds like a lot for buying those reviews, think about going to one weekend at an art festival. You're going to spend $400 on a booth, 3 days of your time, and then you're going to have $0 to show for it. So I've encouraged people to do that. I have artist friends that have dragged their feet on that, and every one of them finally does it and is finally like, oh yeah, I could have avoided this show because it sucked. And I could have known. So, just a great resource there. There's some other Facebook groups and stuff like that, probably in your area that have, other artists that talk about, the festivals they went to and their experience with them. But that's, the reviews from Art Fair Sourcebook are comprehensive and they come from the artists themselves. So, yeah. If you do a festival, you need a white 10 by 10 tent, and industry standard is really the pro panels. They're the panels with the felt on them. A lot of artists start by trying to do grid walls, but it doesn't look the same. It's just not good. If you want to do festivals, I would invest in some grid walls. Don't buy new. Look for them used. There are different sites that have them used. There's always somebody getting out of that game in terms of showing you work, and they just want to be out of the festivals. So I got mine for like $1,000. They're like $2,000 panels. So another good way to get into different places is like the call for entry, the cafe website. They have some different calls for entry. Definitely. That is a little tougher because there's a lot of like little galleries that just make their money off of artists applying for their shows, and there are not as many opportunities as you think there. But there are like little niche shows all over the place that like Oddities and Curiosities Expo. If anybody has anything weird there, like that show is great, and it's not just an art show. One of my best shows was Denver Comic Con for a lot of years. And that is just, a bunch of pop culture geeks, and I'm one of those, so I can say that. So don't just pigeonhole yourself into like, this is what what sales career looks like, you really want to get yourself into this mindset of like, where the heck can I sell this? What is my individual niche? Some of these fine art galleries that I wanted to be in for so long would have been terrible for me. Not for me personally, but just sales-wise. Their demographic doesn't match my work. My work is very different than that. So think about the type of art you do. What is your audience for it? Who's your market? Okay? And then don't be too proud because you think, oh, that's not fine art enough, or that's not tracking is like, oh, this is how my art career should look, because every art career looks different, it really does. And what works for one person doesn't work for other people. I told my friend Jonathan for years, I was like, dude, do some prints, just print it out, sell them. And it does not work for him. He only sells originals. He has some canvas prints that he sells, but the paper prints, they're just a non-starter. So you have to try the market, test the market. Try not to bet too big on anything at the start because your overhead is your killer. It kills your profit. So I did small test runs of different prints and stuff like that, and saw which ones were working. And nowadays I have a pretty good read on it, but still I have some that come out that I'm like, well, that did not work at all. I have paintings that I'm like, this is a good painting, I'm going to make prints of it. Haven't sold a copy. What else? Oh, I was going to talk a little about commissions. When you start to get a reputation for quality, and you have some people interested in your work, you're inevitably going to have somebody want a commission. Best thing to do with commissions is get the money up front. Get at least 30% of the money up front. If you don't, you're going to have somebody at the very end who I can almost guarantee you will be like, oh, hey, yeah, I just lost my job, and so get at least 30% up front. I have a lot of friends that charge more for commissions because it's more work. It is inevitably more work. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It will be more work because you're going to have to deal with somebody else's ideas. And they're never going to think your ideas are as good as theirs. So I personally have slowed down on commissions, but I've picked up a couple recently. But it's because I've been selling more originals and I just need to make more originals. But commissions are a great way to pick up some cash. I would advocate adding 30% to a price on a commission. Because it's going to be 30% more work. It's just all there is to it. Trying to think of what else. I have a couple oddballs here that I was going to show you. Let me just hold it up and then I'll come back and talk about it. So that's an LED light that lights up, but I couldn't get my computer to shut off to plug it in, so it's just not lit up. But I do all my work digitally. I do all my black lines digitally, and so I can, or you can send a print of something to something like that. There are all kinds of different companies that can make different products for you. I would encourage going to different print houses and different print companies. They all have a display room, and they all have different ways of printing your work. Duraplaque in Longmont has little magnets. They have bottle openers that you can print an image on, and they have a magnet that catches the bottle cap. They have coasters. They have 14 different ways to print: canvas, paper, and aluminum prints. And that can be a way that you can distinguish yourself with your art, is just having unique products to sell. That's one of the things that I think really sells my original work, is it's a unique display, it's a unique way of showing your work that nobody else does. And so when you're thinking about the types of products you carry, think about different ways that can set you out apart from the audience, apart from the crowd, because there's an infinite number of artists out there trying to sell their work, and they're all against you, or they're all not against you, but they're all trying to sell it to the same people, I think the last thing that is really something I need to work on is online sales. If you're doing your social media, if you have your social media going and you're getting a response, having a website is just critical at that point. Because any other place, you have just the people that walk in the door. With the internet, you have the entire world literally has access to your work. And it's something I haven't been good enough, because I've been sending work to galleries and stuff like that. But you get 100% of the commission on that check. So you need a good point of sale system. Square is pretty good. Square Online is a pretty good point of sale system, and you can take cards from that. I would take at least Venmo, and definitely have PayPal set up for payments. Any way that you can get money from somebody is a good way to go. And then you need just a clear website with different tiers of stuff, original work, canvas prints, paper prints, and just have all of it listed for sale. You're going to make 100% of that. I had an artist talk at the college for an artist that I was hosting for my from an opening in my gallery. This person invested $75,000 in Instagram ads ads last year. $75,000. And they have a very marketable product. Their return on investment was $5 for every dollar they spent. That's $375,000. And that's just running Instagram ads. So remember, there's no just like one way to do it. Because they were selling $30 prints, $50 prints, matchstick books, tchotchkes. And, she didn't have any kind of defined sense of like, oh, being an artist is showing in a gallery. Being an artist is this. She's like, being an artist for me is literally drawing cats. And then like playing foosball and stuff. And just selling prints to thousands of people. So there's a very diverse way to do this job in a very lucrative way. That isn't being a blue chip gallery. That isn't selling to millionaires or billionaires, Sometimes it's just about volume and just having your margins right, One of, as a person who shows in pretty distinctive shows around the country, one of my better stores is a t-shirt shop in Steamboat. They're one of my consistent checks. One of my most consistent checks. And I don't have any bear about it. I know other artists that would just turn up their nose at that and say, well, they're not a gallery. Why are you showing there? And it's like, because they care about my work and they like it and they promote it and they sell a lot of it. So I think those are the really, serious things. One last thing before we go to questions, I think would be, you gotta watch out for scams as an artist. The biggest scam is, hey, I love your work. I'd like something between $1,000 and $10,000. And that's when it's great to have your website set up, have a payment method set up. Don't take checks ever unless you know the person personally. And even then, I've been in people's homes where they have $1 million home. They're like, "Do you want a check?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you just run on a credit card." I'm driving 1,000 miles away from you tomorrow. The biggest scam right now is, "Hey, I want to give you a check for this painting," and they'll overpay you, and then you'll send them the painting. And then they'll be like, "Oh, can you send some of that money back? I actually overpaid you." And then you write them a $500 check, and their check bounces. So if it feels too good to be true, just remember to lay back on, can I run a card? And they're like, "No, my wife has a card, and I'm trying to run all the payments." And they're like, "Okay, well, I can really just do a check." And I'm always like, "Hey, that's great. Well, I can take Venmo or PayPal or cash even if you want, And if they can't do those things, you don't have a real person on your end. So if you want to talk about making money as an artist, that's a good way to not lose it at least. At least don't have it going out the door while you're trying to scrape together your hard-earned cash. So. I think that covers everything I wanted to talk about, but I know you guys have some questions and stuff like that, and I want to hear that, so sock it to me, guys.
Do you guys have any questions right off the bat?
I'll get started.
We're gonna start, all right, well, Alex will give you the little mic.
I think you guys are still muted on your end, just a heads up.
So I'll help.
Hey.
After they ask their question, if you can't hear it, which I don't think you'll be able to, I'll just relay the question to you.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
So, you spoke about selling art online. Can you talk about some of the spaces that are available and what is the routine? How do you get traction selling online, a gallery online? Because there are, of course, places where they may take a commission or something like that, but they basically, even if you set up an online
I think I heard it pretty well, yeah.
Perfect. Great. Thanks for
Yeah,
speaking.
nice talking loud. Yeah, there are websites like Saatchi and artfinder.com and stuff like that do, some of them jury work in, and some of them have you pay a fee, and some of them have you do, they just let everybody make a post, and then they take a portion of sales. My friend has a lot of luck with them. I haven't tried that at all. My method has been pretty much like a comprehensive group of kind of all the things that I covered with, small little shows in coffee shops, little festivals, networking at those, having my own online web store, doing the social media and driving into that. And then, lately more galleries and different stuff like that. So I think, there's a lot of different ways to drive traffic to your site, and there's a lot of different ways to get your stuff on, different platforms like Artfinder or Saatchi or something like that. But I think I would go with more than one approach than just your website. Just starting a website, you're totally right. Doesn't mean people are going to be like, oh, hey, I found this website. It's really putting yourself out there in a lot of different ways, and especially starting out, just as many different ways as you can. But yeah, definitely look for opportunities that have good. They look like they're going to have a good yield result. Like I did a first year Man Festival, Mancraft, and nobody came, and it was the worst waste of my time ever. So you got to be a little choosy about where you put your stuff. Does that answer your question?
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Okay, so, can you hear me? Okay.
Huh? Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so if you say, there's a lot of different ways, but tell us two or three, or if you say, you have to find many different ways to drive people to your site. What are some kind of, I don't know, guerrilla marketing tactics that you can get people to even know you exist, so that they'll come to your website?
Yeah, I think.
What are the nuts and bolts of that?
Yeah, I think the big three that I would do are the three that I covered already. The social media, you want to do Instagram and Facebook at least, and be posting consistent content on your social media. I think in-person events, if you can find any galleries to show at, even if you have to pay a little rent for your space, and then you go to that event, you want to be at those events with your business cards, talking to people, seeing who's, what the reception is of your art. And then the third would be festivals and in-person events like that, where it's oddities and curiosities, anything where you can find a crowd to put your work up. There's plein air festivals, there's just about an event for any type of art, watercolor, plein air, any type of those things. It's all networking. There's no shortcut to it. It's literally just consistent posting on your social media. It's doing consistent events. This year I had, for instance, for myself, I scheduled my calendar up with March. I did a show in Montana called the Out West Art Show. It's a big Western Arts Week in Montana. And I got a room in a hotel for a Western Art Show. Let's see, May I had a solo show at a gallery that I'm a member with. I'm a part of the members gallery. And I had a tandem show with somebody in May. In August I had my solo show. In April I had a tent festival. So it's really just getting out there, getting your art out there. If it's in your house, it's not doing anything. So put it out on social media, put it up wherever you can. I don't think there's any shortcuts to it. It's just meeting a lot of people over a lot of time. So, did that track?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much everything I sell anymore is just no refunds available. If it's something that's damaged, I insure everything that's over $500. And if it's damaged, I offer a replacement for free, usually, because that's going to be cheaper than a refund. And if people really aren't having that, then, sometimes it's just good business to not have a bad review, So if it's damaged, if it's anything original, there's 0 refunds for me, unless it's broken, But if a print is wrong or something like that, I've always been kind of on the mindset of like, just keep your clientele happy, It takes you way further than the opposite, so, yeah. Did that track? Okay.
I have a question. I am a painter, so
Okay.
that I tend to get commissions right now for that. I've had several inquiries where, in this particular instance, a gal made this amazing home, and she said, paint whatever you want, whatever you think looks good. So general. And I don't even know where to start. What is your process on that?
I have it pretty set with my commission structure because I'm like, I need more than that. I need the colors that you want, or get all of them and get the size that she wants and follow through with it and be like, that's it. This is literally all you want to give me. You can let them do that, and you can just get the money up front. Because they will not like it. I'm almost scared. They won't get it, and they're like, oh, this wasn't what I wanted. Well, I'm sorry. So the way I do commissions is I start with an illustration with all my paintings anyway. I draw all my stuff out like this. The black things are drawn on fur first, it was drawn on pencil. So I tell commissioners, give me a general sense of what you want. Is it a cowboy? Is it and a lot of times it's some lawyer saying, I want my face on it. And I'm like, God, it's so boring. It's happened like 5 times with lawyers. Every lawyer is like that. I want my face on it. I'm like, okay. But what I do is I'll draw them like 4 different sketches and say, like, these are 4 different takes on it, completely different takes. Hit one. And then I ink everything digitally, so all the black lines are done digitally on my iPad, and I will send that to them, of the one they picked. And they get 1 round of edits, and they can say, okay, can you tell me your colors that you want? And then I'll send them the background, and then I'll paint in all the characters to go with it. So I have it pretty set up that at every stage of the commission, they have like an idea, a roundabout idea of what the hell they're getting. And that would help, maybe what you can do is say, part of this commission, I'm gonna add $1,000 for 3 mini paintings that I could do, that you could do 3 just abstract paintings or 3 just kind of general, thumbnail paintings for this person and say, what do you think of these 3? Are these 3 attractive? And say, I'll do 3 paintings for $1,000, and you can keep the one you want, you can keep all of them, and then if they have no idea they don't like any of those, then you kind of got to hold them to a little bit tighter process. But would do what I do. Does that cover what you're thinking? Does that help at all?
I think so. I do have another quick question if you have an answer. I noticed when you said you took pictures of your work, I think you said you use a cell phone. Is that correct, or do you have a camera?
Yeah.
So what kind?
Yeah. I just have an iPhone. I have like an iPhone 13. But the cameras are really pretty good on them anymore. if you bring it in Photoshop and set it in as a 300 dpi image at like the correct size, you're going to get a pretty good image. If you have it lit correctly, like the big thing is light it correctly and getting like a good head-on shot. So the other, like, if this is your canvas right here, then I would take half of it with one photo, half of it with the other photo, right? And then stitch them together in photo. And then you have two full images. But yeah, I just literally, filmed, I did a 50 by 36 with my iPhone with 2 shots. And it saved, I turned it to wall effect. So. Yeah.
I have a quick question. Do you make the client who wants commission? Sorry. Do you make the client who wants commission like a commission piece from you? Do you make them sign some sort of contract or agreement before working, or how do you do that?
No, I usually, well, I'll email them usually and just say, I'll just say 30% down. I think the last one was who wanted a piece, like it was a painting at her booth. And they were like, I want this, but with a different person and my dog. And I was like, okay. So I got 30% down and I emailed her. Usually, if somebody's not going to pay, they're just not going to pay. There's not a good way to hold it to them. I've had a few commissions fall apart. You really want to document it for yourself, you know? You got this much money, this is the amount of money paid, this is the amount of money that they still owe. People are going to play on commissions, and that's the risk on it. You know, there's no part of this job that doesn't have a risk. You know, it's like you go to a festival and not make any money. You could have a commission that comes through that, you know, they display, they just post you. So it's really just protecting yourself and making sure you're not underselling yourself. So you just communicate clearly and hope they follow through.
Cody, I was wondering about the plexiglass that you use.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that. Can you show us and maybe talk a little bit about what's selling in Colorado now, or?
What was the last part of your question?
I wasn't sure, and again, I'm not the artist here, so are others familiar with this, with plexiglass?
A lot of us haven't seen that type of like style of the plexiglass on your paintings. When you show us, can you leave it on the camera just for like a little bit, because then it'll stop being pixelated for us.
Oh, okay. Is it lagging out?
That's good. So where did you get that idea from? None of us have really seen a style like that.
Can you hear me all right? I'm trying to lean in and hold it slow and stay on mic. Okay. I feel like you guys just have a giant head on your TV there. I started doing these just flat on canvas actually, and they weren't shiny. I used a wash for the black lines, and they were kind of matte black. And I actually, so they're very illustrative, right? So it's like people would talk to me, and they'd be like, oh, it's like manga, or it's like comic books, and scientific, I'd be like, it's like graphic novels, and like, yeah, it's like a comic book, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I mean. So it kind of actually came down to, it's very cell shaded. There was some video games that were cell shaded, I forget which ones, in the late 2000s, that people really came into lexicon. And cell shading is, you know, old animation term, and for animated cartoons. And what I decided, I was like, yeah, let's make some cells. Let's make some actual, you know, illustration animation cells. Because a lot of my work is like, it's very animated, it's very action-packed, it's like moment of impact kind of stuff. So I decided I found a spot that can print the black lines onto the plexiglass. So these black lines are printed on to the plexi, and then I paint the color in from the back. And I think having a distinctive style like this has been the best thing for my career, and also the worst effing thing for my career. Because let me tell you, how many Western art shows for the last 10 years have thought, this is fine art? You know, how many classical art shows are like, this is fine art? They look at this, they've looked at this for the last 10 years and have been like, that's, you know, this is a comic book. You know, and it's only in the last 5 years that some of these museums, some of these galleries have started to see like there is a different market for this, you know? And it has kind of taken, you know, one of the things with making money in art is really important to know is hanging in there is the best thing you can do. Longevity is your friend. You're not going to have a sold out show your first year. You're not going to have a sold out show your second year. I've seen it happen, but odds are the career will take longer. It takes 3 to 5 years to start any business. You know, art is no different than that. So like my art, I'm rambling about the business stuff now again, but did I cover your question about the style? Was that good? But so yeah, like it's important to like wait for an audience, wait for people to get to catch up, you know, and wait for the audience to decide, yeah, I'm ready to buy something. So yeah.
Two questions about your plexiglass art again. One, who does printing on plexiglass? And then two, can you just use regular acrylic? Does it stick to the plexiglass well enough and not, you know, over time kind of? But the plexiglass is pretty slick, so I'm just wondering if it has enough tooth to hold that over time. And
Yeah.
and how does atmosphere play with the plexiglass? I mean, play with the acrylic on plexiglass. Since the
Yeah.
plexiglass doesn't have tooth.
I've found a couple places that can print on. One is Pepperdine's in Denver, sign company. They print on any substrate. There are companies in this world that can print on anything, any size that's just flat. You know, a sign company, large format printing companies could all do that. And they can't necessarily do them at the quality of like a museum piece like I would need. But they can print just the black lines on it for me and they do it cheapest. But there is a unit cost for just printing one, and there's a unit cost for printing 15, because I essentially have to fill up a sheet of 4x8 foot plexiglass, or it's not worth the money to do it. Does that make sense? Like, I have to fill up with like 20 pieces of art to make that, and then they cut it up in all the 20 different pieces. So I use a quarter inch plexi, and then, yeah, they print it on a whole sheet, and then they cut it up in all the different pieces and drill my hole for me. So that's that company. Duraplaque is the fine art company that can print on aluminum, they can print on plexi, they can print on wood, kind of anything too. And a lot of these companies can have a CNC router that they can cut to any size as well, which is amazing, you know. So if you design it individually, then yeah, a lot of these companies can just execute behind the scenes. And then in terms of, yeah, painting on plexi, it has 0 tooth, so you have to have the right viscosity of paint, but it definitely holds. This son of a bitch right here, let me tell you, I did the words wrong on this, and it took a good 2 hours to get the paint off. And that was with soaking it in water, and like soaking it for like an hour, and then rubbing it and soaking it and rubbing it. So yeah, it holds on. And the same with journaling. It's been in years. I've been doing them for 10 years now, and I haven't had a complaint yet about it. So.
And I was just wondering, when you were first starting out, did you have like any sort of mentor who was kind of guiding through your stuff, saying, hey, this is going to work, this is not going to work, or get into this festival, not this festival? Or was there at least just someone else that you're like, hey, that's a career I want to model after. I'm going to do A, B, C, and D just like they did.
Yeah, no, I didn't really have that. That's something I've been actually trying to do. I have 3 different people that are kind of like proteges right now. But no, that's one thing I didn't really do is I think I could have done better to be more proactive, like I said, to start, get out in the community, meet the artists that you look up to, whose work you like, who you think you show well with. Just introduce yourself, and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, just wanted to meet you, I love your work, When you do that stuff, it's so easy to fall into like the trap of like, I want to show you my work. And it's like, no, start with like, who are you? What do you do? Ask them questions. It's just as neat for them to meet somebody who's intrigued in their work and engage with their work. It's the same with the gallery stuff. It's like, don't go into it like, hey, I want to show you my work. Like, just meet people. So that's one thing I wish I'd done more of, is just get to know the community, make friends, get out there, have a good time. I mean, you're talking about just art parties, for God's sake. But I never met the people above me. So networking is hugely important, because I think those people would have helped to bring me up. Instead, I just kind of, just started with the gallery. I just was like, I'm gonna do it myself. Nobody's gonna bring me in, and so it took a harder path than I probably needed. But one thing I tried to do recently is, my friend Rob said, hey, how do you do what you do? And I was like, well, here's everything. You want to borrow my tent for a year? You want to borrow my pro panels for a year? You want to go experiment with it, here's what I would do. And let me tell you, if you do find a mentor, don't tell them that what they're doing is wrong. That is one thing that people ask me all the time how I do stuff. And I'm like, here's how I do it. And they're like, well, that's not really fine art. That's not really how it's done. And I'm like, okay, well, why'd you ask? So if you do fun to help mentor you, just really listen to good ears.
Any more questions? Cody, thank you. We appreciate you joining us. I think we're all still mulling this over, learning it, settling in. So thank you. And I think did you have to pick up the girls? Did we keep you too long?
No, I just have a deadline that they will walk in this door at some point, and then I will have to leave. So I'm free until then. I want everybody in the session here. I just want to offer this to you guys, since you're part of the crew, and I love Tana so much. That my email address is Kuehl, Kuehl. Did I break it?
Can you say that again?
Yeah. Kuehl .Cody, CODY, @gmail.com. If you want to reach out, it's KUEHL .Cody, CODY, @gmail.com. If you have any questions and want to meet me, I'm happy to try and answer, just give you some relative answers. If you had some stuff that you wrote down and you're thinking about, happy to be support.
What's his website?
It's, that is artofcodykuehl.com.
Part of,
Art of, ARTOFCODYKUEHL.com. And then if you have that, you got my Instagram, which is at @artofcodykuehl, and Facebook.com/artofcodykuehl. And if you want to send me money, just @artofcodykuehl. That is actually like one of the better things that I've done is I've kept my branding the same for 10 years. It's always been Art of Cody Kuehl, so business tricks, I see arts try and rebrand all the time, and it's like, dumb. Keep it all the same. If your Venmo is the same, if your Instagram is the same as your Facebook, is the same as your website. And thank you guys so much. I appreciate you all. Sorry for being a massive floating head in your thing. Next time I'll get a better mic.
Let us know when.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I'm going to sign off, and you guys just need if you have any questions.
Thanks so much, Cody.
All right. Take care. Thank you.